Thank you to the Lexi for having us here. It's a great spot. So yeah, hope you enjoy the film.
Food riots broke out in more than 25 countries around the world. The result of a massive rise in the price of basic food.
The key thing about food inflation in the UK is that it hits the poorest families hardest.
At the root of all of the problems is money, because power follows money, and there are some very rich and very powerful vested interests that are doing really well out of the way that we have it now.
The film is a great piece of work that will definitely educate people on a problem that needs to find a solution.
It really shows the effectiveness of the bottom-up approach.
It was really heartening to know what was going on kind of like at a ground level of where you could leave the cinema and like go and get involved.
They gave a lot of background information that isn't widely accessible to a lot of people.
There's a lot going on in London and the London area, and it demonstrates the fact that production on a small scale by people who are really interested and by people who really believe that it's possible can be achieved and can be really effective.
Countries need to be able to produce staple crops for themselves. I think any economic theory which says otherwise is going along the wrong path. It's not a technical solution of producing more food. We need a rethink here.
And what worried me was that an awful lot of the small traditional family farms were being forced out of business.
Another sum that's come to light recently is how little supermarkets have been paying farmers for their produce. What's the best way to tackle that?
It sits obviously at the policy level. I think the consumers play a huge role, and if people just actually voted with their purses, then that's when big business and corporations do tend to sort of sit up and take notice. I've been invited here today by the director Ben to talk about the issues that are raised in the movie, particularly around food and sustainability, and so I was here to talk about Oxfam's point of view and about our Grow campaign, which is campaigning on the billion people that go every day without food, and kind of how we think those can be addressed both at a global level and a local level. The government, where the policy sits at, needs to see the public mandate for change, that enough people care about it.
The film focuses on people's individual choices, but I think there's a lot the government could do as well. A lot of these groups are saying that there's a huge demand for people wanting land to grow on. And it's about, I think the government could do a lot more in terms of the provision of land.
As we saw in the movie, there's an issue with lots of sort of investment bankers and hedge funds that are speculating on basic foodstuffs such as wheat and maize, and that's increasing food prices, which means that poor people that spend 80% of their income on food can't afford to eat. So we're calling for increased sort of curbing of that speculation.
It's what can I do to change? And I think in essence in my personal life that's exactly what I did. Is I decided, for example, that I never buy meat and fish from the supermarket.
As a student of nutrition, I think it's absolutely crucial that we know where our food's coming from, and this type of film really reaches out to people who are interested in food and interested in health, and understand that there are wider implications and how their food choices not only affect them and their health, but also on a global scale affects the whole food system.
I think it's really great how the film's sort of focusing on the simple local solutions to complex global issue that no one seems to manage to get their head around. Do you think perhaps that we have to unglobalize?
My feeling is that yes, the answer is that in terms of food, we shouldn't be seeing it as a tradable commodity as such. We all need to be involved in some way or another with our own food production. This will give people a lot more confidence too, in terms of their own security and their own ability to be able to feed themselves in their communities rather than rely on large organisations.
The figures are ridiculous. A third of food produced is wasted either in poor countries because they can't go from field to transport to market, or because of the consume rich countries because of the food we just throw it away because there's just too much food. And the stats at the moment are that it's of the 13% of the population that are going hungry, it just needs 1% of the current food that's available. So it isn't that there isn't enough food, it's just that the current way that the food system is built for all these different complexities is wholly unsustainable.
In 2008, when food prices in this country went up also, although most people weren't affected by it, there was a huge rise in the number of people using food co-ops. So I think it's an interesting way of seeing that although we see a lot of these initiatives as on the margins, when crises, which do affect the UK as well, when those happen, and if they will happen as severely as many people are predicting, then these alternatives will be important. International trade in food will go on, of course, but I think these local initiatives will become more and more important.
Thank you to Michael and Lisa and Ben. Hope you enjoyed it.
In essence, it passed the message across really well and really easily that we need to start caring about the food.
I think it's great that a movie like this exists and tells people what's going on.
We can't keep relying on people to be making these decisions for us. We have to realize the situation, take the matters into our own hands, and hopefully change the way we produce food.
The future depends upon people taking the initiative into their own hands and doing something about it.